Collective Shout reveals insane plan to censor countless unethical games. What do they mean by unethical? Because they mean stuff like Stellar Blade and stuff? Oh, they better not, bruh. I love Stellar Blade. Does that make me a gooner? Anyways, let's get into the video.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we have another update regarding Collective Shout and their push to censor more video games they consider problematic. As always, you can help share this video around by liking, commenting, or subscribing to make yourself an engaged viewer so your view will actually count in YouTube's new busted system.
Oh yeah, apparently that's actually true. Yeah, apparently you have to like to actually get engagement and count as a viewer. So if you would like this video, I'd really appreciate it.
Now,
Anyways.
this evergreen tweet is something I showed only a few videos ago, but it's relevant once again. Would you look at that? Because in a recent interview, a member of Collective Shout has gone fully mask off. They have made their intentions very clear in regards to fictional content featured in video games that they are determining whether or not they are appropriate for gamers. They said they don't care if the content is legal or not. They are going to be the arbiters of truth, and they alone
That's insane.
will decide if something should exist or not. And also on top,
And that's not even a government. I think that would still be insane for gaming to say as a government, but keep in mind, Collective Shout, at least to what I know of, isn't even a government whatsoever. Like
of that, when it comes to the
it's
consequences of those games and their removal, they don't care what happens to the player experience, and they don't care what happens to the developers financially. This tweet is relevant again. They care more about fictional content. They're treating fictional characters like real people and treating real people like fictional characters, and they're mad at you for knowing the difference. So quick rundown of Collective Shout in case you've missed the previous episodes of this long saga here. Collective Shout, a small group of feminists in Australia. They have been snipping at the ankles of many different developers for years with no success. But about 2 months ago, they switched up their strategy and now are going after payment processors like Visa and MasterCard and putting pressure on them to force platforms like Steam to remove their games. This has been very successful, resulting in thousands of games being banned or in some way censored. Now, we've seen a lot of backlash to this movement, rightfully so, from gamers, and they have played the victim. Collective Shout has even gotten the support of the United Nations, who said this is the most serious form of online violence against women human rights defenders have seen
get the hell out of here, bro.
in a long time. And you can see from this LinkedIn post, you have their supporters saying, I've been standing up to these cowards who clearly need their local police to check their hard drives. No one should want that content, and those that do need to be dealt with appropriately.
I need to be dealt with because I like Stellar Blade, and I think the the actual person that you play as is really hot. Oh, okay. Fuck it. My bad, chat. I didn't know. I didn't know. Maybe
censorship is definitely
true.
someone
I didn't know about that.
Needing consequences. So yes, we're seeing this over and over again. Even members of Collective Shout vaguely threatening legal action against people.
I bet that Love and Deep Space game is okay though.
They are trying to silence and even put people in jail at this point. So what we have today is an interview from Jack Connor over at Tweaktown, and he interviewed a member of Collective Shout and really just asked the flat out important questions and got surprising answers. I think even he was surprised at their honesty, their foolish honesty, be it at that. But anyways, they interviewed Caitlin Roper.
Just because I want a food to God mommy doesn't make me a fucking sexual harasser or whatever. If anything, that would be like the opposite, no? Like I would be like the person who would do is doing that. No, my bad.
The campaigns manager at Collective
Shout,
and this is just the intro to the article, and they're just going through what Collective Shout does. We already know that, but this is the individual that they are interviewing, a feminist activist who's obviously
red flag.
Like I said, the campaigns manager at Collective Shout, not just the manager, but also an active member as well. And they've been trying very hard to push the goals of Collective Shout. And here's some of the really key answers they gave to Jack. So here's one question, straight to the point. What types of depictions of women in games do you believe are most harmful and how? And she says, The global research has consistently found that depicting women as sexual objects, as things existing for someone else's arousal, is harmful and contributes to negative impacts I outlined earlier. But here, the game.
Bitch, I just like hot woman. Get the hell out of here, bruh. This is such bullshit. Oh my gosh. Oh.
We objected to went much further than sexist and objectifying representations of women. They glorified men's violence against women, portraying women as desiring and.
So you mean to tell me if I want a doth woman, like a dominant woman, that's violence that I'm doing towards the woman? Even if it's done. You see how fucking stupid this sounds? You see how fucking stupid.
Deserving of this abuse. They depicted extreme violence and torture of women. I've been working in this space for 15 years, and I've encountered some pretty extreme material, and what I came across here was some of the worst I had ever come across. Now, you can see the vague language talking about material, this and that. They're talking about video games. They're not talking about any content featuring real women.
Yeah.
They are talking about video games. They're talking about.
See, what you gotta think is like video games are harmful, dude. Video games are violent, like, and that's just not okay. So we should censor shooting games too. You see CS:GO? That game shouldn't even be a thing to these people. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they truly think CS people like games like CS:GO and Valorant should just not be a thing. And like Call of Duty, I truly wouldn't be surprised. We should just have Candy Crush only and Stardew Valley and what else? Animal Crossing. Yeah, there's only games that are acceptable to these people.
Fictional content here, and they're trying to make this statement.
That's not saying those games are bad whatsoever. I mean, Candy Crush. No, Candy Crush is bad. I'm sorry, but the rest of them aren't. Okay.
And that global research has found this link, but they're not clarifying whether this is about fictional content or not, because I think they'd be very hard pressed to find any support for those claims. So that's why they're being intentionally vague. Now, keep in mind, they're talking about this harmful content, creating these dangerous depictions of women and girls. They are a cutie supporter. As an organization, they collectively support cuties. In case you don't know, the net.
What? Okay, at first I thought they were just too like sensitive or whatever. They support that movie. Like they actively support that movie. Yet they want to remove these games. What? Bro, what? Cuties just shouldn't be a movie. That's just my opinion. Hey, you might have your opinion or whatever, but and they want it to. It's a strong protest against the sexual. If anything, it's the opposite. But these niggas are delusional. They're delusional. They're out of it. They're out of it. I don't know what type of subspace they're on the internet, but clearly they're dumbasses. That's all I got. Like
Netflix film from a few years ago where it was about real girls around the ages of 11 and 12.
It's the same take that Sneaker had, no? I'm pretty sure it's the same take that Sneaker had. That Cuties was a good movie. Oh my god. There's no shot people think this is a... Bro. No, there's no way this is a real tweet.
12 doing a twerking competition. In fact, hundreds of young girls went through the audition process for this film,
shit.
exploiting all of them.
Yeah.
But they support the existence of that film, but are upset about certain depictions in fictional content.
Yeah, that tweet is really right. When he said fictional characters are treated like real people and real people are treated like fictional kids. No, this is insane. Holy crap.
Making that abundantly clear. And also they say, this extreme content, this is the same group that tried to get Detroit Become Human banned as well. And also have been responsible for getting horror games banned. So it goes way beyond...
Horror games? Just say you're a pussy. Yo, I'd rather have you just say you're a pussy at that point. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it.
What they're describing
like that,
in a very vague sense.
What are we talking about?
But here's another question. Are the concerns with video game content about the legality of the content, or are they primarily ethical/moral concerns? Now, I think we all had a strong feeling of what their answer was going to be here, but they make it very clear. So they talk about the problematic games they found will likely be illegal in Australia. Those were reported to the Australian Classifications Board, were geo-blocked because they had illegal and were being sold they were illegal and they were being sold illegally. The campaign calling on payment processors to stop processing payments on platforms hosting this content was also a call for them to enforce their own existing terms and conditions, which is very misleading because when Steam was targeted, for example, they added a rule that said now the content has to comply with payment processors. So they had to literally create a new rule on their platform because of the outrage coming from groups like Collective Shout. So they're being very misleading once again. But here's where they get it really, really
I truly don't understand though, like why they would even listen to people like this. It from a business perspective, I don't think it makes that much sense because don't they make more money just from keeping these games on the platform? Unless, of course, if they're illegal. Like it's not like Steam made those games. It's people on like in the community. Like I don't see how this is such that big of a deal. On on a place like Steam. Now, of course, if it was something like Roblox, that's why Roblox is getting so much flack. If it was stuff like Roblox, then of course it's a big deal. But like, if like this isn't illegal, this is Steam is like what? And these are 18 plus games. I don't see like on what level does this make sense?
clear. They say, however, regardless of
Spoiler,
the
it doesn't.
law, let me say that again, regardless of the law, the harms of glorifying violence against women and children are well established. And we would argue that any company acting ethically would not host or profit from this content. So all they have is an emotion based plea, a demand based on what they deem
Crazy.
ethical decision making. That's what they're drawing all this from. It's not about legality. They probably found cases like they mentioned here with
And
content
even if it was truly illegal in Australia, just make it so this type of stuff is banned in Australia. Like why do I what do I gotta do with this shit? Like what? What? No, I don't know anything about like a lot of businesses in Australia because U.S. citizen. But does does Australia make a lot of money for these types of games in the first place? Like, why is it like I don't
being
understand?
illegal in Australia, but Australia has crazy laws about fictional content in particular. In fact, most anime and anything with adult content from anime is on paper banned in Australia. In fact, they have banned adult content
What?
featuring real adult women if they look young, which is a
That's
crazy
pretty
thing that
crazy.
happened a
Yeah,
few years
that's
ago. Literally,
okay.
like the face of consent. Like you can be a full grown adult, but if you look young,
Now, if you look young, bro.
however they define that, they would consider that content illegal in
If you
Australia.
look
So
young, it's
they're
just not.
using the
Yeah.
very, very draconian laws that involve censorship in Australia to basically
I'm curious then, does that mean like even if someone's 20, like in a relationship, and someone's 23, and if some person looks like 18 and 23, can that person go to jail for that basically? Like can the 23-year-old go to jail for that even though they're literally basically like same maturity and everything? That'd be that'd be pretty insane.
be the entire global basis for legality, which, what's stopping someone living in a Middle Eastern country from applying their law to people like Collective Shout and whether or not they would have a say in any of this stuff? Like, it wouldn't really work out too well for them. But they make it clear it's not about the law. They just want to decide what is ethical, what's not ethical, and they're going to be the arbiters of truth in that regard. And it's all very, very transparent. And that's how we end up with members of Collective Shout trying to frame
This is not porn culture. If this is porn culture, then I think I like culture then, if that is the case. Also, this is not childlike. If you think this is a child, we got problems. You're just delusional, buddy. You're a hag. Get off the internet. Thank you. No, no, I'm kidding.
characters like Annie, the new Grok system on Twitter, as childlike or something that should be banned because they look at a busty, curvy anime girl and they start thinking
And
about
that's a child, apparently. Yep.
children being abused. And now you have to suffer because of their delusions and projection. But that's what we're working with here. Some very unhinged people, but they continue on.
I'm curious how do you even become this unhinged? Because before, I'm not gonna lie, like people like this, I truly thought were just like, I don't know, like rage baiting or something. Like now, obviously, this isn't rage bait. This is like, what even am I looking at? Like, how does it come to this point?
So, Jack asks, do you believe that people who engage with sexual content Collective Shout has advocated against are more likely to participate in it in real life? It's a pretty loaded question, but they say, based on the response to our campaign, men engaging in criminal threats to assault us, dox us, creating and distributing illegal image based abuse content, sending us violent adult content, and illegal CSAM. It is clear many of the men defending their R word games perpetuate crimes of violence against women because they are doing it to us right now. They are comparing what's happening in video games to their experience of getting targeted online. And we'll talk about these certain threats they're claiming they're receiving in just a second, but they continue on saying
I feel like these people are just criminally online. And that's from someone that actually is chronically online. Like I feel like this person's even more than me. Like this is insane. What the
these
fuck?
men make it clear that these misogynistic attitudes required to engage in and defend R word games are not limited to fiction and video games, but that they will and do perpetuate abuse against actual women in the world. So they're using a sample size of Twitter users who are saying bad things to them as a entire representation of the male gender.
Yeah,
And also
that's insane. Also, almost there's like one in every 100,000, and that's like being generous. Probably one in a million people that will distribute and dox you and threaten to do this stuff to you. That see this stuff, like that see you guys banning these types of games. Yeah, we're just gonna generalize in the whole male population and be like, oh, everyone that is defending these type of games, yeah, you're misogynistic. Even if you don't even play these types of games like whatsoever. Like I don't play these types of games whatsoever. Like 0%. Like the only thing I have, hold up. What's the most sexual thing on Steam that I have? If it loads, that is. Jeez. Okay. There we go. Alright, so the most thing I have is Stellar Blade. This is the demo, by the way. And and this game. And I haven't played this game whatsoever. I have a playtime of 1 minute. If you're wondering why both of these games are demos, this clip shows the exact reason.
When people are like, oh my god, $28 for cookies? It's 4 bags. That's $7 a bag. I know math is hard. Like, if you're a broke boy, just say so. Anyway.
And yeah, I'm defending it because it's censoring free speech. Like that's what everyone's mad about. No one like everyone gets it's weird. Of course everyone like
so saying, well, we have
I'd
to
probably say
punish all
90% of the people that are defending this like doesn't even play these types of games. I feel like they just get it. It's weird and like yeah, and still they're defending it because it's a you're words are hard. You are basically trying to censor free speech and freedom.
of you. Do you see how reaching that is? On top of that, two very key things. There are women who are very vocal against Collective Shout. They ignore that that's happening, but also, if anyone is consuming fictional content and then it's affecting them in real life, they have a mental illness. And we should not punish regular people who can separate fiction from reality for the actions of those who cannot, who should not be catered to when it comes to legally available fictional content. On top of that, there's been a lot of claims that Caitlyn, in particular, the one that's being interviewed here, has been faking their own harassment. There was
There's
multiple
no
burner
shot.
accounts that they used as examples of them being harassed, accounts with 0 followers, and just freshly created in the month of August during all this, and
I'm
also
truly not
based
surprised.
geographically in Australia. It seems like a lot of coincidences, and also the messages just seem so ridiculous that, yeah, some people have suspected that the harassment they're using to now punish all men is based on things they're creating themselves. That's the theory some people have. But here's another question saying,
and honestly, it's a pretty justified theory. I think it's most likely correct. Yeah.
What would you say to those who have described this campaign and its impact as censorship? Now we're getting into a really crazy territory. So they say nobody has a human right to simulate and enact fantasies of assault and extreme violence against women. Not being able to access these R-word games from popular gaming platforms is a minor inconvenience, not a violation of a person's rights. Payment processors get to determine if they do not want to host illegal content, including all of that stuff right there, which they had already determined. And so they should. I would ask those who view the loss of their R-word games as censorship to consider if they are concerned with women's basic human rights and the glorification of male violence against women. So again, they're trying to be intentionally vague here, mixing up fictional content with real life abuse.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make connections that they can't really prove. On top of that,
glorification of male violence against women. If anything, I see the opposite. Glorification of women like against men. Like, I don't ever see this part ever. But hey, maybe I'm just not
they're
in.
trying to
Maybe I'm just
police
not
fantasy.
as deep into
So
internet
now,
as I
even
thought
if
I
you have
was.
this fantasy, you're doing something wrong. If you have fantasies of anything dark or taboo, apparently they can do it.
Hey, by the way, most women, a lot of not most, sorry, a lot of women's fantasies is to be R-rated. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of women literally play these types of games. Not gonna lie to you. And you can literally look that up. That's not me making it up or anything. Like that's just the truth of the matter. Like a lot of women are into that dark stuff, like with fantasy. Really, it's extremely crazy, but yeah.
Whatever they want to you because they determine whatever that is inappropriate and hurting people in their minds. So therefore, the payment processors can start determining whether or not this content should be allowed. And again, the way they describe what the payment processors are determining whether or not they want to host, they're talking about things in a way that seems like they're talking about real people being featured. When we're talking about legally available fictional content, video games, that they are now using their own country standards or their own ethics in some cases to say should
See,
not.
my morals are above everyone else. You don't think my morals are above everyone else's? I think you're just wrong. I think I'm misogynist, and honestly, you this is why we're banning these games because you're just misogynistic if you play these games for real, for real. Honestly, I feel that. Oh, you're a woman? No, you're not.
Not be allowed. But anyways, let's go to the next question related to that, saying, how do you distinguish between sexual content that is exploitative versus consensual fantasy? And they say, our objection is to content that glorified violence against women and children. As I reviewed the content tagged with these certain themes on Steam, I did not come across any that was intended as casual violence, but this is a common trope that women want to enjoy that stuff, when in reality the violence is deeply harmful. And then they say, critics argue this removes agency from women creating or consuming adult content.
Exactly.
How do you reconcile protection with freedom of choice? And the Collective Shout employee says, there is no greater removal of a women's agency than R-wording. Media that glorifies violence against women harms all women regardless of whether a few women participate in its creation or consumption. It seems like right here they're completely misleading the point here.
Yeah, this is very
They're not
misleading.
talking about someone being victimized in real life. Again,
Yeah.
this is in reference to these consensual fantasies featured in video games. And they're also saying if women participate in the creation of this, they're also wrong as well, and they don't get a say in what
crazy.
they get to do.
And I almost guarantee, now obviously this probably is anecdotally from me, but I've met, it's not just a few women. I've met a lot of women that participate in this type of stuff. So no, nah.
Which is pretty ironic when we're talking about a loss of agency here. And you think about, that well-known fact that when it comes to hentai, for example, in Japan, the majority of artists are women. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying anything that gets produced out of that features anything taboo or
No, they're just wrong. They're misogynist.
in fictional settings, oh, well, they don't count because these women, well, they're siding with these men who are just wrong.
Yeah.
It's a really big reach, to say the least. And again, roll it back here. They're saying that this media just cannot exist, but then they defend cuties.
Yeah, that's defend cuties though, guys, right? Yeah, cuties is I truly don't understand people that is like that was such a big movie that was like how is this even on the like platform of Netflix? Like I really hope that this isn't on Netflix anymore because this was just I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like what? What are we
Featuring
talking about?
real children being exploited. Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. But next question. What would you say to the thousands of developers who worked on these games that are currently legal and have suffered financial damages due to their game now being removed?
We are not responsible for or privy to the platform's processes, and we stand by our call to payment processes. See, I know that we literally remove those types of games, but honestly, no, that's not our fault. That's not our fault, guys.
They say, really just in the highlighted parts, all you need to know. We are not responsible for or privy to the platform's processes, and we stand by our call to payment processors not to process payments on platforms knowingly hosting and profiting from R-word games. Now, we're again talking about fictional content that's legal in most places, but we're also talking about games that they have banned that include horror games. They have facilitated the ban of games that don't even feature the thing that they're using as the only justification to go in there. What are we talking about here?
No, honestly, I think we're all just wrong, and they're in the right. And honestly, like even though these people might have lost their jobs and everything, that's their fault for doing stuff that is completely legal. Including the people that had horror games. They made the games too scary. You feel me? And honestly, that's their fault for making the game like a horror game too scary. They should just thought otherwise. To be honest, yeah, yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
It is such a blatant deflection of what's actually going on here, and they're trying to
I feel like the
gaslight
shout
you
is
into thinking this is all
it's
about
definitely interesting.
something
That's for
featuring
sure.
extreme content, and again, just very vague language, and that is on purpose. They care more about protecting fictional characters than they do, not just for the experience of gamers, but for the developers making them. They don't care if they lose money, if they have financial hardships because they decided their game shouldn't be allowed ethically. Do you not see the crazy dichotomy here? They care more about fictional characters than real people. As long as
And the people that are a part of Collective Shout are probably some of the most insufferable people. That's probably why they're doing this. To be honest with you.
it serves their narrative and their beliefs. That's why Collective Shout and groups like them are so dangerous. They can't just look at something they don't like in fiction and say, that's not for me. I find it disgusting, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to ignore it. No, they dig into the bowels of places like Steam, trying to find anything that upsets them morally, and they don't just look away. They look right at it and say, that has to go. Nobody should be able to have that.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. That's why people are so strongly against Collective Shout. They should not be the arbiters of truth in what's allowed and what's ethical or illegal or what have you. And there's another question, this time shifting it to violent video games. So they say violent content, games where players massacre people, is sold without issue, but sexual content is being targeted. What do you think about sexuality, particularly involving women, draws more scrutiny than violence? And they say, I'm not sure that I agree that violent content is sold without issue. It most certainly is at this point. There's been a lot of attempts to get rid of violent content. They have failed. They were something that were laughed at, or at least in hindsight, movements that are now laughed at, like Jack Thompson, for example, trying to get GTA banned. We look back now and think that
GTA. You try to get GTA, yeah, good luck, buddy. Yeah, good luck. Good luck at that point. It's not happening.
Guy's an absolute clown. But anyways, they say there has been a discussion about violence in media and video games and a connection to real-world violence. However, Collective Shout's work focuses on sexual objectification, exploitation of women and girls, and how media, advertising, and popular culture can contribute to this, normalize, justify, or even trivialize it. The reality is that an alarming number of women and girls experience violence and abuse by men, and this is the cultural context in which this violence occurs, a culture that routinely
So how
portrays
about like the opposite though? Like, let's say if it was men that were getting, sexually abused and everything like that, would it be okay to these types of companies? Like, I wonder, would that be okay, or like, was that also bad? Because something tells me like it would also it would be okay, like to these types of people. Now, obviously, I don't know anything. That's just like a guess, but you know,
women as sexualized, objectified bodies for men's use in entertainment, and which normalizes, excuses, and glorifies. Yeah. So again, they're focusing on the mentally ill people who see something in media and fiction and go, "Oh, that means I can do that in real life." They are mentally ill. We're not going to cater to people like that who can't
the
separate their
thing is, like, this isn't gonna stop anything. Like those types of people that like this types of like they're just gonna either pirate the game if possible, or simply find or other sources of media to get this type of stuff from. Like this doesn't affect them. Like like
fiction
bro,
from reality. But they ask another
I feel like all it does is just harm the developers that want to make money off of this type of content. And then like, people that actually just have you know, like not harmful like thoughts and actions that are towards this type of stuff, if that makes sense.
question saying, if advocating for the removal of these games is based on grounds that they are illegal, would you and Collective Shout agree that the removal of games depicting murder and any other illegal activities? And they say, again, our work focuses on combating sexual objectification. They basically say that, well, we're focusing on our little corner here of concerns, but it's a good point that they raised in the question. Like, if you are worried about abuse, violence of any form being replicated in real life based on fantasies depicted in video games, why are you stopping at one point but not extending it to violence in
Yeah, that
general?
doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, that's the part that doesn't make
Like,
sense to me.
if there's a game you can go around harming women in a non-sexual way, just physically hurting them, explain to me why that harm is not something of their concern. It's weird. It seems like
Oh,
they're
but don't keep in mind though, cuties is okay in their eyes. In fact, it's actually something that they advocate for, basically. It's something that they think is good. Yeah, insane work. Truly
afraid to
insane
go
work.
after big targets, especially now. I mean, they have a very good time bullying a bunch of small indie developers who might be a one-man team, but will they be able to succeed over the big giants of the industry, particularly ones that have violent content? I think that's why they're holding their punches on that.
Yeah,
But
probably.
there'll be some follow-up saying,
That's what I think too. Because I don't think from now, like obviously from a business perspective, I still don't understand why Steam would remove those types of weird games, but it definitely wouldn't make sense 100% to remove stuff like CS:GO as it. I'm pretty sure CS:GO and like Marvel Rivals are literally their biggest games on that platform on the platform. So it just wouldn't make sense to do that. But I don't know.
if not, how does Collective Shout distinguish between which crimes are acceptable to include in publicly accessible media and which aren't? They say, please refer to previous answers. Should payment processors like Visa and MasterCard be capable of drawing a line between what transactions are approved and what are blocked, even if the content of that transaction is technically legal? Should the same standards apply to films, comics, or books depicting similar themes? And they say again, please refer to previous answers that do not actually give any sort of an
Yeah, that
answer
doesn't give any sort of answer whatsoever. Um, yeah.
on the topic of violence in video games or the fact that payment processors, should these standards be applied to everything? Because I guarantee a lot of books that are being sold
Especially made by women. Especially made by books, especially made by women. Um, have this type of stuff in them. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane work.
in stores that target women, for example, I'm sure they have a lot of very dark themes. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of a meme at this point, but yeah, go to
I mean, there's a whole subside of TikTok that's really called Book Talk that talks about this type of stuff. Yeah, and like I would say probably 80% of the books that I've seen, or probably 90% of the books that I've seen, have been made by women, and they have extremely dark themes like this. Um, and I'm just like, what the fuck? But I just move on to the day because obviously they're not made for me. So yeah,
like Barnes and Noble and like go to like the women's fantasy section, right? And it's going to have a lot of dark themes that Collective Shout would normally care about, but I guarantee they will never cross into that realm for reasons that are very obvious. But for now, that's going to do. It's going to do it for this update on Collective Shout. I know.
Amazing video by Rev as always. I'm not okay. Apparently, I'm not subscribed to him on this account either. Yeah. Amazing video by Rev as always. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate it. And goodbye.